Good morning. This is the Blind Talk webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and get more information and listen to previous shows on our website, which is behind me, blainsworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Tami Ruckman, who's the Chief Development Officer at ABCCM, being my guest today. Tami, you can feel free to wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. Okay,
Thank you, Blaine.
my pleasure. And that is Tami. Tami is an experienced senior leader with a successful history of nonprofit management, primarily in fundraising and marketing. She loves public speaking, working with donors and volunteers, and she's a fifth generation Buncombe County native growing up in Candler area. Prior to ABCCM, she was major gift officer at Gardner Webb University, her alma mater. She brings experience from previous fundraising and social work roles at the Lighthouse Homes, White MCA of Asheville, and home of the Innocents. She holds a Master's of Social Work and a Master's of Education from Southern Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky. So the first question, Tammy, I always ask folks when I meet them for the first time is, as a child, so you grew up in the Anchor Candler area?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Downtown Inca Candler as opposed to uptown.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that, I used to live in the
Right.
Candler area. I thank you for sharing that. I didn't know there was an uptown and downtown Anchor Candler. But so the question I asked, and so as a child growing up in Anchor Candler area, did you always know you wanted to be in fundraising?
No, I never had aspirations particularly toward one vocation or another. I wanted to help people and I wanted to be in the ministry. I didn't want to be a pastor. But when I was about 13, I decided that I wanted to do something uh, to help people who needed help. My mother was a nurse. My dad was one of the most compassionate, kind people. Um, and believe it or not, in the 80s, they volunteered with Scott Rogers, our executive director at ABCCM. So I grew up with two parents doing that kind of volunteer work, um, and I took a test my freshman year in high school, and it said you should be a social worker. Well, I didn't have a clue what a social worker was. I didn't have a clue. So I went to Gardner Webb and I majored in music. My dad called it my marketable skill. You could go in business, you could go in engineering. No, you're going in music. Well, he was less than thrilled about that.
I was going to say that. Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah, so,
was he
social
he was
work.
a
There was
business owner. Yes.
social work. There was a career path. Music. So what got you away from music?
Well, I wasn't that talented.
Okay.
I love music, but I'm not that talented. I just learned and loved music. But I graduated with a degree in music and education. And I spent a year working in a church as a minister of music. And I knew I wanted to go on. I wanted to get a master's degree, but I didn't know what I wanted to major in. And I had a professor that said, I think you should go to Southern Seminary, which is a Southern Baptist, we call it the mothership. It's the where the pastors are trained and the teachers are trained and the missionaries and all of that. And he said, they have a new social work degree. And I thought, there's a sign. And so I did. I went to Southern. They had the only Master of Social Work degree in a seminary in the country. And I went and I worked at a community ministry, much smaller than ABCCM. I worked at a prison with sex offenders. I worked for DSS and I became a social worker. And my professor somehow knew that that's who I was and that's what I was called to do.
And it's funny
But you
too.
can't, you go
No,
ahead.
no, not only did he see it, but you also had it when you took the test. And I remember the
That's
test
right.
also. I mean, that's
That's
right.
right.
So everything was pointing in the direction. I remember they
Who would
called
have
it
known?
probably around the same time, Cooter Occupational Test, or something like that.
That's exactly what it was. It was an occupational test,
Right.
and it was very accurate. But you can't be in social work for 5 minutes before someone needs money. You
Good
know,
point.
people need to be paid. You have to get things that help the participants. You have to feed the children or whatever. And so I started writing grants for one of the first organizations I worked for when I was out of school. And then I got a full-time job writing grants for the Home of the Innocents, which is a children's home in Louisville. Um, my dad grew up in a children's home
Oh, really?
here in
Interesting.
Asheville from age 2 to 12. And when I walked into the Home of the Innocents, I knew I was in the right place. And so I worked at children's homes for about 17 years.
Your
I
dad,
worked at a LIDA here.
your
Go
dad
ahead.
must have been very proud of you then when you were working in that.
I think he was. I think, he didn't have a lot of memories
Right.
of it, but he knew. He told me the children's home is where he learned to go along to get along, and he did have some family that saw him periodically. And then when he got to be 12 years old, he left and went to live with an uncle, which was unusual at the time.
Sure.
Sometimes children stayed there till they were grown. Um, but I loved the Home of the Innocents, and I wrote grants. And then I moved home, back home, to take care of mom and dad. And I kept writing grants, and then I got a full-time job doing fundraising at the YWCA downtown, and have just kept doing fundraising. It's a wonderful mix of people and planning and strategizing. I love to see the people's lives change. I love to see the organization change. And frankly, I love to close a deal with a donor who is also making a life-changing commitment.
One of the nice things about what you do, I imagine, is the fact that there's always going to be a need for a person like you because unfortunately, or fortunately, as the case may be, that every nonprofit is going to need money, you
That's
know.
right.
And it's a
That's right.
shame that it's always, I guess, a constant battle to,
Yes.
like, your job is never done, I guess, you know.
Right. And uh it's not it's not a great system, but it's better than any other system we have, which is nothing. And so we raise money year after year after year. We don't have widgets that we make in the basement, and we don't have, as a nonprofit, we don't have a product that we market or a service or a show. We have things that we offer to people who can't pay.
I guess you also never have a time where you're told we have enough money. You know, no one ever says,
Right.
stop doing
That
what you're
has
doing. You know,
really not been a problem.
but funny you just mentioned this though, that you don't have a show, yet to ABCCM's credit, and they just finished one of the magnificent things you guys do is the Christmas I don't know, show or procession, call it what you want, but it's so outstanding and I just
Return to Bethlehem?
yeah, I just did a show
Yes.
on it a
Yes,
couple
with
of weeks
Chandler.
ago, and then plus I was honored to be in it for a couple of years. And it's just like,
Ah,
yeah,
oh,
it's
how
just I get a
wonderful.
chill, but it's such a magnificent thing you folks do. And so
Thank you.
one of the things I love about it, it's your gift to the community. You know, you're always
Yes.
asking, but here you give something to the community, and that's just such a great thing that you do.
It's
Uh,
very unique. And it's not free to put on, but it doesn't cost us a whole lot. It costs us time.
right.
Um, one of the best parts of it this year was watching the parents and the grandparents bring the children and experience the live nativity. That was wonderful. The
Ha-
children's eyes are big, and grandparents are, their hearts are warmed, and it was really a lot of fun.
Have you ever been in the thing itself?
I I have never done any show anything. I've sung in choirs, of course, and sung solo, but um, I was shepherd number three for one of the shifts.
Oh, you are okay.
I'm terribly allergic to hay and
Oh,
sheep and donkeys, and I was standing between the sheep and the donkeys on a bale of hay. But it was a lot of fun,
well,
and
I can imagine.
I
I was disappointed. I told the story. The first year, I was the rabbi, and that was too
oh
big.
yeah,
That was too big a part for me. It's a
okay,
very big part. So then, one year I was a guard, and I was the other guard the other year.
oh yeah.
But I was disappointed, and no offense to ABCCM, but I wanted to be baby Jesus, and they didn't let me. They said I couldn't be it. So instead they asked me if I wanted to be a jackass, and that would have been typecasting. But just
Yes,
such a great thing you do for the community.
thank
And
you.
we should talk a little bit about that then, about ABCCM then. In talking about it, if I could ask you kind of Reader's Digest version overall, what is ABCCM about?
So ABCCM has one mission, and it is to assist churches in doing ministry. The churches, we consider ourselves church owned and volunteer led.
Okay.
In 1969, some churches came together in Asheville. They were, as I understand it, being inundated with need. They saw distress in the community. The community was very divided, black and white, and they saw a need to come together and do things in a way that each church could not do separately. And so fast forward, however many years that is, and we're doing the same thing. We're offering services that a single church could not offer by themselves. So ABCCM has five shelters, five homeless shelters. We have four crisis ministries across the county, and we do help people from outside that region. We have a medical clinic that is free and pharmacy services that is free. We also, for hurricane relief, we're going outside our region, Buncombe, Haywood, Yancey, etc., to help churches rebuild their communities. That part of us, I think Chandler talked about Faith 360 is the name of that service. And we are also one of the largest veterans serving organizations in the state. We have the two veterans shelters. We serve women vets at our women's shelter. And then our call center provides services for the entire state of North Carolina. We
Okay.
are within 2 hours of any veteran that has a need. If they need food, clothing, housing, financial assistance, negotiation with the VA, if they're outdoors, if they're living outdoors, we will go to the bridges and the wherever homeless shelters to find them. Our vets don't deserve to live in crisis. And so um, we are strongly veteran focused, but we started out as a crisis ministry: food, clothing, financial assistance, rent, mortgage, heating assistance, things like that. And so that's still the bread and butter of what we do. But we've grown a little bit
I was just
since
going to say that. So you
1969.
mentioned you started out. How old is ABCCM?
We started in 1969.
Okay.
So is that 55 years, something like 59, 69, 70,
But
80,
the incredible thing I've seen, I've been in the, do the math exactly,
65
but
years?
the incredible thing I find about you folks is that I've been in the area now maybe 20 years, and
Okay.
I can't believe how you keep growing and you keep finding other stuff to do. It's
Right.
like, um, I remember did a show several years ago and you did it on the various ministries, and I was impressed. But even since then, it's grown. That every time
Yeah.
I find out about ABCCM, um, what caused that? People come to you, or Scott chooses what to pick and choose?
I think we have two secret weapons, and one of it is our faith and belief that we are doing what we're supposed to do. We believe that um, we believe in loving your neighbor as yourself and leaving your neighbor on the street, leaving your neighbor without food or without Christmas presents or without access to health care. Um, I think is an abomination in God's eyes. I think our faith is our first secret weapon. The second is our leadership. Scott Rogers is our CEO. Brandon Wilson is our COO. Brandon, I seem to remember him saying he's been here 8 years. Brandon was um, assistant director of the state VA services. He was very highly placed at the state. He's a Marine, former Marine, and he is a supporter of veterans everywhere, in every stage, every way. Scott is an extraordinary leader. He has extraordinary faith and he's an extraordinary strategist. He's built from one little building on Broadway to 5 shelters. We opened 2 shelters last year.
Right, that's what I said. Every time I turn around, you're doing something new.
That's right. So last year we opened Safe Haven, which is an emergency shelter for women. It's over near the farmers market. And then after the hurricane, our veterans restoration quarters there on US 70 was wiped out, just absolutely wiped out during the hurricane. We moved our veterans across the street to the Quality Inn, and thanks to Tom Tillis and the Dogwood Foundation, we were able to purchase that
Okay.
entire motel. And so we're renovating the VRQ, getting ready to renovate it, get it up off it is nothing but a square brick concrete block building right now with no infrastructure whatsoever, no plumbing, no wiring, nothing. We had to strip it to the ground. The veterans village across the street is a motel that's becoming permanent housing. So we're working on both the veterans shelters right now at the same time, practically.
And
It'll be a while,
took my
but
great use of resources, though. Isn't that fantastic that that can be done?
it was a fantastic idea to move the guys over there and and then some negotiation with the owners of the motel, and they gave us a great discount. And um, Senator Tillis worked with us to secure the majority of the funds, and then Dogwood came in, and we were able to purchase it in I think July is when we closed.
Right. And just, the fact so that'll be open for business when?
It's open right now.
Right.
The Veterans Village is open right now. It's housing the veterans who came across the street who were washed out. And they're living in half of it while we're renovating the other half, basically. Maybe not quite that distinct, but we're renovating part of it thanks to the Home Depot Foundation and some others. And they'll move over there to their their housing, and then we'll renovate the other half. And then in the spring, we're going across the street to renovate the building that was destroyed in the hurricane.
Now, how many veterans will be this will be impacting?
So Veterans Village will house 130,
Wow.
and VRQ will house about 250, I believe. Like I said, I've been here 6 months and I may have some of the numbers confused,
Sure.
but that's approximately. We're also rebuilding the training center over at VRQ where veterans can get trained in different vocations if they are able to go back to work. And we were able to secure the Zaxby's. If
Oh,
you've
okay.
down that way, if you've gone down that way, there was a ghost of a Zaxby's there, and we've secured that property, and we're going to make that a meeting space so groups that serve veterans can have a ready-made
Very
audience
nice.
of more than almost 300 veterans together.
I was going to ask you, so is that the goal then that you provide housing for these veterans, but then eventually to help them become self-sufficient or get out of needing housing?
Yes. So in government language, there are three levels of housing. One is emergency. Of course, we all understand what that means. You come in, you're having a crisis, you come in, you stay 30, 60 days, something like that, and you're either back on your feet or you transition to transitional housing. Transitional housing in government language is 2 years, up to 2 years. And the majority of our veterans right now, if men, both men and women in the shelter, veterans and women, they're the most of our participants are there up to 2 years. It takes a while to get trained in a new job or to find a new job, to secure childcare, and to recover from whatever caused your crisis in the first place. Was it domestic violence? Was it mental health issues? Was it simply not enough money left at the end of the month, and so you need to get retrained? The majority of our participants are in transitional housing. What we're adding is a new component called permanent supported housing. Some people who are on a fixed income or have a disability, have a life limiting condition, will never be able to be fully self supporting, especially in a housing market like Asheville's. The average rent for a studio, one bedroom, $1,300 a
Is it
month.
really? Wow.
And it shows no sign of, abating. That's very difficult to live on a fixed income from Social Security, VA pension, disability. It's very difficult to live in that market. So ABCCM is committed to making sure there's affordable housing available for our people who are exiting transformation, who are exiting uh, transitional housing. There must be an affordable place for them to go. And some people move right out. They've got new training. They can afford the rent. They're working with Habitat or some other organization, but some of them can't. If you have a disability, if you're an older person, one of the fastest growing segments of the homeless population are people 55 and up. People have difficulty anymore living on their Social Security. That's just reality. And so, what are those people supposed to do? Well, we've got to make housing affordable for them. And so, ABCCM is committed to that.
And with respect to the housing of helping these people, is there also a component where you help them with a medical standpoint as well?
Yes. We do. Of course, our veterans have access to the
Right.
VA.
Yeah.
And we're making sure that they get to their appointments or whatever they need. Um, some people have Medicaid, which pays for a doctor or to go to the hospital or whatever, but some people don't. And so we have a free medical clinic over on Livingston, down below, right below the hospital. Dr. Daniel Frayne is our um, chief physician. He is on staff at ABCCM. He recruits volunteer doctors and nurses and pharmacists and dentists because we also have some free dental care. We really want to expand that this year.
And by the
Free
way,
or low cost access to dental care is just non-existent.
I was going to ask you also, so I realize you involve the professionals in that area, but are you also, with work you do, are you looking for volunteers as well?
Absolutely.
And so how
So
do
as
they,
this,
yeah,
go ahead.
now how do they hook up with you and what do they do?
So the first place to go is our website and take a look and see what you think you might want to do. Shannon Paris on our staff. Shannon is one of the best volunteer coordinators I've ever seen. She supports about 5,000 volunteers a year. Every shelter, every ministry, every aspect of ABCCM, for every staff person, there's probably 3 or 4 or 10 volunteers. So we really do believe in being volunteer led. We want the church people and other community people who want to volunteer to learn to do this. We want them to learn the skill of sitting with someone and seeing that they get the food that they need or the clothing that they need or helping them navigate their bills or whatever else. We need people in the warehouse working with our guys. We have a 150,000 square foot warehouse that holds donations, furniture, clothing, food, Christmas presents for children, toys, furniture, all kinds of things. Anything a household would need, household in crisis would need.
And let's just jump in here because you mentioned the website. What is that website, if you would, please?
It is www.abccm.org, O-R-G.
And I'll take them to anything they need to know about
That should
volunteering and
take
getting
them.
involved.
If they can remember Shannon Paris,
Okay.
she's our volunteer coordinator.
Do you have
And she's
people, does Shannon have people, or do you have people who come and they want to help, but they don't know what they want to do or how to help? You can,
absolutely, absolutely. And she will give you a whole laundry list of things where she needs to place people, and you can choose, or you can say, I'll try this, and if it doesn't work, I'll go somewhere else. She's very flexible. Each ministry has a volunteer coordinator. So if you know where you want to go, you can go straight to that ministry.
have you
One of
had,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, have you had anybody, I'm just curious, ever come on board and want to help in fundraising?
Well, I'm looking for
I'm
some.
saying it just seems the ideal opportunity for somebody, as you point out, wants to get in social work or help other people, but boy, money is needed to do this.
That's right.
And what a great experience for, in all seriousness, like a college student or somebody else want to find out about what makes an organization run.
Yeah.
You know, they just come,
Fundraising is a fundamental operation of nonprofits. You can't have a nonprofit without fundraising. And um, when I was coming up, it was not taught in school.
sure.
Now there are schools you can go to, um, but a lot of it you learn by doing. And so we'd love to have some volunteers like that. Our board members serve as volunteers in fundraising. Um, and our staff, they're wonderful. They just put the need out there, and somehow it comes to fruition. But yes, we're looking for volunteers in all aspects of our of the ministries.
Because one of the nice things about what you do, it would seem to me, is that at least when you ask, I mean, I guess people can turn down any request, but this is like kind of a positive thing, you know, you're helping people. How can you not be supportive of that, you know?
Well, I think so.
Yeah,
It is if you're disturbed by the people on the street,
right.
whether you're mad because they're there or you're feeling sorry that they're there, there is something you can do about it, and you can help ABCCM. If you are concerned that children aren't getting the food they need when they're at home on the weekends, there's something you can do about that. You can come and pack backpacks for us that the children then take home on the weekends. You can pack backpacks for veterans or other homeless who are still on the street. There's just no end to the things you can do at ABCCM.
It must be very exciting for you, I guess, but also for other staffers, also volunteers, is to then see the response you get, you know, from people. In other words,
Yeah,
it's what's exciting. It's life-changing. You know,
it is.
you,
It's life-changing on both ends. The definition of fundraising is introducing people to the joy of giving.
love
And
that.
it is a life-changing transaction on both ends. Some of the most giving people I've ever seen are not rich. You know, they're not wealthy. Um, but some of the kindest and most incredibly life-changing gifts I've ever seen have come from people who have just been blessed with talent in finance or banking or some of those. So every gift counts. Every gift helps.
What I've heard, and I'm sure you've seen as well, is that people involved in volunteer work or fundraising, whatever, that they oftentimes say that they get more out of it, if possible, than the people they help. You know, it's just,
We hear
it's,
that a lot.
yeah,
We hear that a lot.
you make a difference in somebody's life. Um,
Absolutely.
you've been here 6 months.
Hmm.
What do you see? I can ask you two questions. One for the next 6 months, you know,
Okay.
where are you going? But more significantly, 10 years from now, 5 years from now,
Oh, wow.
where do you see what you're doing? Where is it going?
So the next 6 months are very important to ABCCM. We are working to launch a campaign that will rebuild that VRQ and refurbish the Veterans Village, add some housing to Transformation Village, our women and children's shelter, and um, help secure our future. That's the next 6 months. We've got to get that VRQ off the ground. Um, 10 years from now, there's just no limit. We will be a statewide organization. We already have services, we already have offices in Charlotte, Jacksonville,
Right on that.
Fayetteville, and we're working on Raleigh. We want to be close to any veteran in the state. We have the call center and they can talk to us on the phone, but we want people on the ground as well
And
to help
that'll be
veterans.
through ABCCM.
That'd be through ABCCM.
And you mentioned
And
something I didn't realize, but talk a little bit about the call center. What is that?
so the call center, VSC, Veteran Services of the Carolina, operates a call center that any vet can call if they have a need. If they're homeless, if they need a better job, they need a job at all, if they're on the street, if they need help navigating through the VA system, we're there to help them. We take about 3,500 calls a month.
Right.
and they come from all over the state. Housing is a huge issue in any large city, not just Asheville.
So,
Um,
so that comes in through the headquarters.
the call center is here in the building that I'm sitting in. I'm at 1845 Brevard Road, and that's where our call center is. And so we've got caseworkers who are helping with housing, helping with mental health, helping with physical health, and helping identify veterans who still need services, who've not signed up or cannot access the VA or are disabled, etc.
Is that
We
something else
also
that, I'm sorry, is that something else that volunteers help out on with the call center?
They do, not as much. We want a veteran to usually talk to a professional, but there are other opportunities. There are tons of opportunities with the veterans. So if someone wants to work with veterans, that's not an issue. Um, the call center operates um, not quite 24 hours a day, but I think it's soon going to that. As I said, 6 months in. I can't remember all the numbers as well as I'd like to. Um, but for at least 12 hours a day, we are operating a call center. Um, we
Yes.
we are working directly with the VA. Any veteran who comes to the hospital, the medical center can also access our services. They can be in the shelter if they need it. They can be in transitional housing. They can they don't need to get medical services from ABCCM, but if their family does, their family can go to our clinic.
I should
So
mention, I should mention one other thing too, in talking about, you mentioned earlier the website. If somebody is listening and like to make a donation or contribution to ABCCM, they could do that via the website.
absolutely, if they have a problem, they can call me directly. It's abccm.org, and
Can,
every donation is important.
can folks donate to a specific aspect if they want? If they,
They can. There is a drop-down menu that lists the different uh, ministries. One ministry I did not mention was the jail ministry. So we have a director of jail ministry who serves the Buncombe County Detention Center. You know, Buncombe County hosts about 500 men and women per day. And we're offering library services, Bible studies, reading glasses, uh, one-on-one interaction with those people, with the understanding that we're providing hope and support and telling them about the services when they're able to leave. You know, if they need shelter, if they need medical care, etc.
I should mention one final point, which has always impressed me with ABCCM, is that even though the letters mean something, it's open to all folks in the area, meaning
Absolutely.
sex,
Absolutely.
religion, you name it, you'll
You
say,
name it.
yeah, anybody is service. There's nobody is turned down, I guess, for request for
Absolutely
help.
not. We may not be able to help to the extent sometimes that people wish we could, but we are doing our dead level best, and no one is turned away uh, because of whether they're Christian or not, whether no matter what. They're our
Because-
neighbor, we're going to help.
And I love that because that's not even part of the process, right? Or people they're not asked what religion they are when they sign
No,
up.
no,
Lovely.
we're not out to proselytize. We're out to love people.
I love it. Tami
That's
Ruckman,
our
I'd
goal.
like to thank you for being my guest today on this edition of the Blaine's World video podcast. I'd also like to thank my producer, Cap Dissetti, and please also share the thanks to Scott Rogers and everybody else for all the work you do. You guys are great.
I think Scott and Brandon, our two leaders, are deserve 150% of the credit. So
Oh,
we are, thank you for having us,
okay.
Blaine, very
Be well,
much.
Tammy. Thanks
All
again.
right, as well.